Okay, we're on Shekalim Perek Daled, Mishnah Bet, second Mishnah in the fourth chapter of Shekalim. We're continuing to discuss what would they do with the money they collected in Terumat Halishkah when they collected the money from the Machzir Shekel. Says the Mishnah, Para, that's a para aduma. The Se'ira Mishtalech, that's the Se'ir, the goat that was thrown off the cliff on Yom Kippur. The Lashon shel Zehorit. Zehorit is the red band, so the Lashon is like a tongue, meaning a strip of the crimson cloth. Which crimson cloth are we talking about? We'll see. Let's look in the Bar Tanura. Shni tolat. This is the piece of crimson cloth. Shemashlichin el toch sreifata para. Okay, that they threw in when you would make the para aduma. If you look in Parshat Chukad, it says Shni tolat ve'ezov. You have to throw in together. I actually found a really cool picture of it's like a drawing or a painting of an image of the burning of the para aduma. Okay, you can see here. We're going to see in a second in the Mishnah. You can see this is the Beit Hamikdash in the distance, and so actually we're looking from Har Zeitim. They would do the para aduma on Har Zeitim. They would burn it on Har Zeitim, and they built a ramp from the Beit Hamikdash. They couldn't do it in the Beit Hamikdash. They built a ramp from the Beit Hamikdash all the way to Har Zeitim. Personally, I find it difficult to imagine that they built this kind of complicated ramp. I think it was a much more simple thing. But nonetheless, if you look carefully, this is as big as the picture gets. You can see that the Kohen is holding, the Hisab branch, that he threw into the Sreifat Para. He didn't really have it there. He threw it after they already burned it in there. But whatever, you get the point. Okay, so this Shni Tolat that they threw in was used. It was bought from the Terumat Halishkah, from this money. But kevesh para, the kevesh se'iri mishtalech, the kevesh, the ramp for the para, and the ramp for the se'ira mishtalech, b'lashon shebein karnav, and the lashon. Remember, there's another lashon, another piece of red string that they had between the karnaim that they would tie between the horns of the se'ira mishtalech. So if you look at the Wikipedia on the se'ir lazazel, there's a little picture. They have an image. I always thought the horns went up like that, but maybe not. Okay, if you look carefully, you can see that they tied this red band. They had this red band, and the Chazal said that it would turn white, and they had a corresponding Shni Tolat in the Beit Hamikdash. It would also turn white when they threw it off the cliff. And there was a ramp. What was there? There was a ramp. So there was a ramp. Hayu oshnim shnei gsharim zeh al gabei zeh. They would make a ramp of two bridges, one on top of the other. Ninei kever tahom. Because they were afraid of kever tahom. Kever tahom is that perhaps there was a buried body deep down in the ground they didn't know about. Me harabayit lahar mishcha. From harabayit to har mishcha is har zeitim. Va'alehem ayu motzin et hapara. So that's this image that we saw before. They have a triple ramp, but they had a double ramp to get from harabayit to har zeitim. That's a pretty expensive ramp. It's very, very, very significant endeavor. One would imagine that they built it in such a way that I guess it would be permanent. Also, now there's a cemetery in Har Zeitim, so when comes time to burn the para aduma, it's a very interesting question how they're going to do that. Okay. Also, lashon shebein karnav, the lashon between the horns of the se'ira mishtalech, leidaim hilbin, to know if it went white. V'nit chapru avonotohem shel Yisrael. They were nit chapru. So where did the money come from for those things? The kevesh para, the ramp, kevesh se'ira mishtalech, and the lashon. V'amat hamayim, if they had to fix the water amah, the water stream that went into the Beit Hamikdash. V'chomat ha'ir, the walls of the city, umigdiloteha, and its towers. V'chol tzarchei ha'ir, anything needed for the city. All those ba'in mishiarei halishka. They didn't come from the lishka itself. They didn't come from the money from the korbanot. But once they took the money, remember, put it in the office, then they would designate this is how much money we need for the korbanot, and they would obviously have extra. So all of these things would come from the Yisharei Halishkah because they're not korbanot themselves. So they don't come from Terumat Halishkah. We have two terms, Terumat Halishkah, and then the second term we have is Shiarei Halishkah. So these things did not come from the Truma. They came from the Shiarei Halishkah, the leftovers. Abba Shaul said, Kevesh para kohanim gidolim. Kevesh para, the ram for the para aduma, kohanim gidolim osim otam mishal atzmam. That came from the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol would spend his own money in order to build that kevesh, because I guess it was their zchut. I would say that must mean, at least according to this picture, the Kohen Gadol must be extremely rich. I also want to know that because Shni Tolat, that red strip, that red band, it must be very expensive for them to be listing it along with the ramps that they had. which only goes to show they probably was incredibly difficult and expensive to procure the dyes that they needed in order to properly make this red band. We'll stop here, dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman, and Tzipora Fega Matilda bat Nachum Elimelech. Have a great day, everybody.